I got connected to Insight Women's Center in the fall of 2017. Previously, that spring and summer before, my husband and I had lost 2 babies to miscarriage. And at that time, I was so devastated, depressed. I felt really alone in my grief and really angry at God at that point. And I was just in such a deep pit that I knew I needed help. And my friends and family had been amazing and so supportive, but I knew I needed something more than that. And so my pastor connected me to Insight Women's Center and told me about a child loss retreat that they were planning. And so I called Bridget and signed up for the retreat. The child loss retreat was really challenging, but also beautiful in the best ways. Before going, I didn't know anyone. I had never actually really met the staff or the volunteers or even knew the other attendee that was going. So I was anxious stepping foot into a retreat center where I had no expectations. I didn't know what that weekend was going to look like. But as soon as I entered, I was just overwhelmed with peace. These women, without even knowing me, loved me, cared for me. They weren't afraid to enter into the messiness of my grief. They also just loved and honored my babies as if they knew them. They were able to help me just get past some of the anger and bitterness I had towards God and really helped me see hope for my future. Several months after the retreat, my husband and I started trying again, and we got pregnant with our 3rd baby. And at that time, our pregnancy was going great. We had passed through some of the major hurdles that we hadn't in our earlier pregnancies, and we were nearing the end of our 1st trimester, and we're about to announce to the world our great news. And so I went to Insight Women's Center to be a model and get one of their sonograms. And that was really exciting because I walked through the doors and Bridget didn't know I was pregnant yet, so I got to surprise her, and it was just a really beautiful moment of celebration. So during the sonogram, at first I was just chatting it up because I wasn't expecting anything other than seeing my baby dancing and kicking on the sonogram screen, but pretty much instantly I knew that something was wrong. And Leslie looked over and said, "There's no heartbeat." And I remember she was trying really hard to find the heartbeat, and she kept saying, "Come on, baby, come on, baby." And I just remember saying like, no, this can't be happening again. You know, going through 2 miscarriages was really hard, and I just never expected that we would be going through it a 3rd time. And so that moment was kind of a blur, but I remember asking for Bridget because my husband was out of town. She came in there and she just held me while I cried. And because I had a relationship with her and she had walked through my grief with me, she was the perfect person to be there. And honestly, I'm so thankful that finding out the news of losing our baby was at Insight Women's Center. And after a little while, Leslie brought over the sonogram picture of our baby. And I just remember staring at it and thinking that this baby is perfect. But for whatever reason, its heart stopped beating, and it was a really surreal moment thinking about this baby being inside of me, but yet already being in the arms of Jesus. But I'm so thankful, and this picture hung on our fridge and still hangs on our fridge even almost, 9 months later. And so I treasure this a lot, Lord. But I knew from the moment that I left Insight Women's Center that I wanted to deal with the grief differently than I had the first 2 times. And honestly, it was because of what I learned at the child loss retreat that I was able to do that. I had experienced so much healing and knew what to expect in grief, but also had so much healing in my walk with the Lord that I was able to still say, okay, God, even though you continue to give and take away, you are good, and I will praise you even through this storm. I remember telling Bridget that there is purpose in this story, in this journey that we're on. I didn't think that God had us on this journey if he wasn't going to use it for good. And I had kind of come to a point in a crossroads where I had to decide. I can choose to wallow in my grief, be angry at God, blame him for it, and, choose a life of bitterness, or I could choose to say, okay, God, you are good and you are going to use my story for your glory. I was excited just to see what the Lord had in store for that, and I didn't know it would bring me back to Insight Women's Center as the development director. I was not expecting that, and honestly, if it hadn't have been through me going through my miscarriages, going to the child loss retreat, Insight Women's Center would have never even been on my radar. After experiencing our journey, all of the losses, attending the child loss retreat, and then starting to work at Insight Women's Center, all of that has helped continue to build hope in mine and Kyle's lives, and knowing that, we can continue to trust God for our future. And so after several months, we found that we are pregnant again with our 4th pregnancy. And so we have just been really excited and really hopeful in our journey. And obviously, it's still been really scary. Any pregnancy after multiple miscarriages is scary. But because of just the work that the Lord has done through Insight Women's Center and through our lives personally, we feel really hopeful and continue to trust God for our family in the future and whatever that looks like and whatever he's calling us to.